Is Zoom stock going to reach $600 per share? What's going on, guys? It's Justin from Push and Profit. Hope everyone's having a beautiful day today. So in this video, I'm just going to kind of give you guys a briefing of what's going on with Zoom stock, both from a technical standpoint and just overall the news heading or just going around with Zoom, right? So we got to look at a few things, right? So Zoom, of course, is something that I've been talking about for a while now, just because Zoom has done extraordinary numbers, obviously, since the beginning of the pandemic. Now, Zoom hit this all-time high of 588.84 cents, and ever since then has been selling off. And I made a video talking about, you don't want to buy Zoom right over here. And the reasons was because, obviously it was oversold on the RSI. It's hitting the top of the linear regression channels. Now, I'm not saying that it was like you have to just trade based off of my ideas. But I was just kind of providing some insight of what I believe, right? Because again, the stocks, just because saying that doesn't mean that that's gonna happen, right? I don't just trade only on the indicators, but again, they're indicators, right? They're kind of suggesting that this is what might most likely occur, right? So anyway, so Zoom sold off, and we had this major sell-off from Zoom for the last few weeks, right? Now the reason, of course, or if you guys are unfamiliar with, it's just because of all the optimism in the stock market, right? We had Moderna, right? And we also had Pfizer, which are two vaccines that are working on drug companies just working on vaccines for individuals in America and multitudes of other countries to again beat coronavirus. Now, the reason why that news of optimism is bad for Zoom is because you got to think about it. Zoom is a pandemic stock. It thrives in the pandemic, right? Not to say that if things get all good, Zoom is just going to die off, but most likely it's not going to do as well as it's doing now, right? Because right now we got a lot of individuals working from home using Zoom remotely, right? We got a lot of students who they are going to school from home using Zoom. So Zoom, thrives when, the market is, or the overall, pandemic is still going on. Very unfortunate, but hey, it works out for Zoom. So that's the reason, Zoom has been trading downwards, because we had these vaccines that were claiming that they have a 95% success rate, right? Now, I made a few videos on Zoom already, right? And in those videos, I said that even though we had those good news, I don't I don't think Zoom is gonna like sell off all the way to oblivious or like some just to zero or anything like that, right? Obviously, but I don't think it's gonna sell off anymore, because the thing is with these vaccines, it takes a long time for them to produce enough vials for every individual, right? And then again, a lot of individuals might not even want to take the vaccines, right? A lot of people are a little skeptical about this vaccine that they just pumped out in like 8 to 9 months. So a lot of people are kind of skeptical. So that kind of just suggests that this pandemic might take a little longer than what all these articles are suggesting about, with all this optimism from these vaccines. Now that's just from a news standpoint. Now if you guys follow this channel, which if you haven't done so already, consider subscribing to the channel. Also hit that like button. It really does help out with the channel. But anyways, going back to what I was saying, I am a day trader who primarily focuses on trading with technical analysis, right? I like looking at the charts. Again, I do like hearing the news, but I don't like trading based off the news, because there's sometimes rumors, and we all know how rumors work, right? It might be true, might not be true. So I kind of want to map out what's going on, and I'm going to change this into a 1 hour chart, so we could kind of, or actually I'll go back to a 4 hour chart, because there's actually some other stuff I want to cover that I actually just forgot to mention. So Zoom was at 588, and now Zoom is currently at 440. Now notice how the RSI has cooled off significantly from Zoom, right? Over here it was just red hot. Now the RSI it's pretty high, but it's not as high as how it was during these times, right? Especially if I zoom out. I mean, look at this. Zoom was just kept going up, kept going up. It had areas where cooled off, but it just kept rising up, right? Now we had this major cool off. And so Zoom isn't as overbought as it was previously. And then also you got to notice that the linear regression channel is still trending upwards, and it's kind of saying that, hey, around $644 per share, that would be a top resistance area, right? Level resistance. So that's kind of suggesting that, hey, on a big picture, right, Zoom is still on an upward trend, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's it's gonna happen, right? But I want to point out a few more things, so definitely keep watching. So now we're gonna go look into a 1 hour chart, and of course the linear regression channels, which are the orange lines by the way, are suggesting a downward trend. But something that we got to take into consideration is that, okay, So after the sell-off, Zoom has consolidated for a few days, and now it's trading above the exponential moving average, right? I made some videos about why right now would be a good time to get into Zoom, right? Now, Zoom is trading above these exponential moving averages. What that means is that that's just confirmation that we are on an upward trend. Doesn't mean that, we are forever going to go on this trend. So I'm also going to point out some areas to look for, right? So for example, right now we're testing a resistance. So it really depends on what goes on right now, right? Just because there's resistance, it doesn't mean that it has to, fall down, and it doesn't mean that it's possible that I could break above it. So that's how I look at support and resistance areas. I look at them as just crucial areas to look into. So one of the crucial areas that we got to take into consideration is this area right here. Now, the reason why this area right here is a resistance is just because if we look all the way back here on November 2nd, that was a support. Zoom sold off, it hit this and then bounced up, and then it hit this channel over here, it sold off, and it broke that support, of course. Then it ended up as resistance. It's been bouncing around. So now we're around this area. So it's very crucial at what's going to happen with Zoom, right? So if Zoom could break above this area, then of course, it's just more signs of an upward trend. So if it breaks below this area, by the way, I'm going to put an alert so it can alert me. So maybe I could, trade, on this trade, not miss out. I like to put a lot of alerts because I like to know what's going on with the stock, right? So I'm going to have that alert me. If Zoom breaks through here, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy into Zoom, right? Now, another potential resistance area, right, is this area right here, this line right here. Of course, it's two resistances or just double indications of a resistance, just because we also have the linear regression channels on the 1 hour chart saying this is a possible resistance, which is the orange lines again. And then we also have this red line that I drew that, it was a, support around this area, and it was a support on a previous area as well. So if Zoom could break that area, then again, more optimism for Zoom to keep going up. Now, again, something that I like to preach about is locking in profits. If you get in Zoom, right, and it touches this, it starts going up and it touches this area, but then it gets rejected, sell at validation, right? Take your profits. If you're up, take your profits. You never lose money when you take your profits, because what could potentially happen is Zoom touch these resistance areas and then start falling down again. So again, with these indicators, you just got to look at them as crucial areas to buy in and or sell out. So again, if it breaks above this area, I'm going to go ahead and buy it. And hopefully it breaks above this area. Now, the next area of resistance would be this area where I have this yellow line, which I have an alert, which, there was like at 5, 11, 10. Now, I'm going to kind of go back to a 4 hour chart, and I'm going to, zoom in a little. So the reason why that area I put it as a resistance is because look at this. So it was a resistance around here, or actually, sorry, resistance around here. Now, it ended up being kind of a support, because if we see it fall down, it hovered around from this area right here of the peak. It hovered above it, right? So it was a pretty strong support, and it just kept bouncing up and down, consolidating for a few days. Then Zoom finally broke down. That was the first, vaccine. I think it was Pfizer that said that, they had the great news. Then, Zoom stock started trending up. Then guess what? The next vaccine that came out with the positive news was Moderna, and then of course was that area of resistance. It took a big dive, right? It fell off, right? We have this area of resistance, and on top of that we have this area of where news is getting put out that is bad news for Zoom. So it sells off, bounces up, bounces down, consolidates. Now we're heading back up. So that's why you got to pay attention to the levels on 439, 457, and then 510. Now, if Zoom breaks above 510, that is just great news. We just have so much more to go. And then obviously the next resistance would be I'm looking at 644, right, which is a little way higher than 6. Like the title of this video, but that's just a potential for it. So again, if I'm not right, I have Zoom in my long-term portfolio, of course, where I'm just holding on to it long-term. But as far as from a trading perspective, how I'm gonna approach this, right? Because of course you got to look at things from what perspective you're gonna take. Are you an investor? Are you a day trader? A swing trader? Right? Have a game plan. I talk about this a lot. So with Zoom stock, if it does, for my trading account, if it breaks above 441, that's when I'm going to enter. I'm going to be cautious around 457, excuse me. And so if it, doesn't break above that, I'm going to sell, right? Sell a validation or sell a resistance. And if it does break above that, then the next area that I'm looking at is 511. And, if it does, validate from there, sell at resistance or validation. But if it does continue breaking up, then hey, now I'm looking at 644, which is basically a potential for 46%. Now, I know that's a lot, right? 46%, that's people. Some people might think, hey, that's crazy, but this is very possible for Zoom. I mean, in the last year alone, not even the last year, last 180 days, Zoom has done from the bottom to the top 461%. So it's not uncommon for Zoom to have these it wasn't like crazy spikes, but it has had some major spikes, and that has pushed and propelled Zoom to such a high level, right? So that's definitely something you should consider. So if you have any questions, make sure to leave them down in the comment section below. I have something in my eye. Also consider checking out the links in the description. I have a link to join my free Facebook group. Also, I have a link where if you sign up with Webull with my link, you'll receive 4 free stocks valued up to $1,600. So definitely check out those links. It's just a promotion that's it's not going to be there forever. So definitely take advantage of that. It's free money. All you gotta do is deposit $100. You get 4 free stocks. And if you don't like the Webull platform, guess what? You could sell your stocks, take your $100, put it back in your bank account, whatever, right? But Webull is a great platform. I think you will enjoy it. But again, if you don't, it's whatever. It's still free money with the free stocks you'll get. So definitely check out that link also. And with that being said, guys, my name is Justin from Push and Profit. Hope you're having a beautiful day today, and take care.